get us into everything. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Burning Roar podcast. I'm Jake Scarbrough, joined by my special guest driver, the 2 Hyundai for Brian for the Autosport, AJ Muss. AJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Just getting the car ready for qualifying today, and then the race this afternoon.
Well, great to hear. Well, that brings us off into our first question. Many people look at this as a challenging track, as I said, especially with the corkscrew. How do you get through that?
So I actually don't see this as so much as a challenging track. It's just a unique track, and it's kind of a gut check track where it's not extremely difficult because a lot of the turns have cambered corners, so it really pulls you through the corner. But it's more visual cues on this track because you don't have very much visibility. As you go up with a corkscrew, you can't even see over your hood really because you're kind of looking up towards the sky. So you kind of pick a point in the distance where I pick a tree. That's a tree that's been there forever, and I kind of just point the car towards that tree. And the corkscrew, so from the corkscrew into, that'd be turn 7, 8, and then in 9 is my favorite corner. So it's the corkscrew down into the on-camber left-hander. It's just super fast and fun. I mean, the car bottoms out over the corkscrew. It feels like it's in the air. It's obviously not, but you just kind of have to, the harder you charge into it, honestly, the better the car is. If you kind of come in there a little more on the brakes and the car unweighted, you're going to get super loose. But if you charge in there pretty hard, it'll settle the car in.
Well, next question that brings us to, with Brian Hunter Autosport being as big of a team as it is in the Michelin Pilot Series, does that help at all going into race weekends with a bunch of teammates to kind of work with?
Yeah, I mean, Brian Hunter Autosports runs their program if it was their IndyCar program, because they run Indy cars. It is a Michelin Pilot Challenge team, but it's run at the standards of IndyCar. So we have tons of data collecting. We have multiple cars that we lean on for data. We have teammates that we lean on, and our Elantras are so successful because they're a great car, but we have a great team running them. So they look stronger than they are due to the fact that we have such a strong team and a great engineers behind them.
Well, you mentioned IndyCar, how you have to run to those expectations. You're actually on the same team as a former IndyCar driver with his own story, Robert Wickens. Does that kind of add anything to it, knowing you have your own story with his?
Yeah, absolutely. Robert is a phenomenal driver. He's been around a long time. He was in IndyCar, then after his accident, obviously. But he was a full factory DTM Mercedes driver and won in DTM with DTM with DTM. And the amount of knowledge he has, the car's set up, and how picky and precise he is with everything transfer over to all of our cars. Like, he thinks about things outside the box that some of us don't even think about because of his knowledge and experience in sports car racing and in IndyCar racing. And actually, my teammate, Ryan Norman, ran an IndyCar race last year. He ran Indy Lights for 3 years, then last year he ran Mid-Ohio in an IndyCar.
Well, that adds a lot of character to the team with the stories and everything, bringing us into our next question. Obviously, your career didn't start in autosport. You started snowboarding at a very young age. So what was kind of what made you do the jump to autosport?
Yeah, so obviously I started my career as an Olympic snowboarder. I snowboarded for 20 years. Actually more than that, 22 years. And then in 2020, I think it was 2020, I went to the Indy 500 with a friend who was close with Marco. And he just kind of introduced me to racing. And I was there, and I was doing Formula Drift just for fun because he was only doing smoky burnouts in a race car. And I met my manager, Brent Brush, at the Indy 500 just at Scott Dixon's trailer. If you're in the racing world, WAD, Scott Dixon's coach driver is a legend. He's the nicest dude. He brings everyone in as a family. You hang out the trailer, they bring you bacon from Penske. You sit down next to Scott's trailer, watch the race on the screen. And I was talking to my manager. We ended up living 2 towns away from each other. So then 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, I reach out to him. And he's like, I was like, hey, can you tell me my drifting career? He's like, yeah, I'm going to get you out of drifting and into sports cars. So then we ended up talking, and then he connected me with Brian. Brian's team was full at the time. So Brian put me with another program, and I did 1 race with them in Daytona, which went well. Qualified 6th. The race went okay. I think we had some car troubles at the end of 9th. But then COVID happened. And the whole industry got turned upside down on their head.
Yeah.
And I didn't finish the rest of the season. Last year, Brian put me with another program because their seats were full. And then did a full season there. Got a lot of experience. in my freshman year, and now in my sophomore year, I'm with BHA. I'm BHA driver, and just it's been a huge change in pace going from a satellite program to a factory program.
Yeah.
The standards and the way things are done and the expectations are much higher.
And as you mentioned, you made it to the Olympics, Team USA. Was that always the goal with snowboarding, to make Team USA, or did it kind of just happen?
So I'm probably a little bit different of a story than most professional snowboarders. In a weird way, I didn't really care so much about snowboarding. I wanted to become an Olympian. So whatever sport or however I could become an Olympian is what I was going to do. And it just happened to be I was snowboarding at the time. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try to go to the Olympics for snowboarding. But snowboarding just happened to be what I did when I decided I wanted to be an Olympian. An Olympian was always what I wanted to become. Now, what I want to become is a professional race car driver, and one day be driving up in GTD, LMP2, and Le Mans and Spa.
So you want to go to the big races?
Yeah, I want to be a full-time IMSA sports car driver for sure, but I want to dabble my foot into the big wet races, the Spa, the 24, maybe even the Dutch Schleife.
Well, we go back 2014. You had what wasn't even a near-death experience. You were considered dead for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, what did that impact on your career after that to get you here?
It made me better in a weird way. That accident made me who I am today. I was quite a different person before the accident, and after that accident, I kind of not changed who I was, just naturally your outlook on life changes, right? And then I just decided that, like, I wasn't going to let anything stop me anymore. If I wanted to do something, I was going to pull my whole heart and soul into doing it or die trying. Like, I do not accept failure. I don't accept no for an answer. If the answer is no, what can I do to turn that into a yes?
Yeah.
Whether it's changing my thought process or changing what I do, how do I make my goals become reality? Because a lot of people that are on the outside looking at sports, they see our successes, right? But success is maybe 1% of our careers. We have so many more downs and lows than we have highs, but you're always chasing that high and that success.
Well, lastly, that brings us to the final question. With the amazing story you have, how does it feel knowing that some people look at it, get some inspiration, it helps them through things? How does it feel with that knowledge?
To me, that's almost more satisfying than what I actually get to do. That's why I love talking on podcasts or talking to media, because I want to share my story. And to me, it's not sharing my story like, hey, look at me. It's you can do this too. I'm no different than anyone else. Like, racing race cars or becoming an Olympian is what I did, not who I am. Who I am is AJ Muss, which is no different than anyone else. We're all the same, right? It's just how can you find those avenues to be successful in what you do, whether it's making your coffee in the morning. How do I make the best cup of coffee? Like, it's having pride in what you do, and everyone has that in them. No matter who you are, you have it in you to be successful or to be happy. So if my little tiny story in the universe, because I'm just another person in the universe, this tiny, tiny little thing can help someone else be a better them, that's what makes me happy.
Well, thank you again for being on the podcast today. Obviously, you have your race later today, so good luck in that, and good luck in the rest of the season.
Thank you, I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And that wraps up things for the Burning Rubber podcast. I'm Jake Scarbrough. Thank you, AJ, for being on once
Absolutely.
again. Nice talking to you.